Okay, so welcome back to our podcast. Thank you so very much for staying tuned to us. Thank you very much for your comments, for subscribing. This episode, we want to look at this whole issue of dress and deportment. How important is dress and deportment in personal branding? Now, as we take this journey called life, as we journey to become who it is God desires us to be, we have to be very careful about the image that we are projecting. We have to be very careful about what that image is saying about who we are. Let us look a little bit at companies and their logos. When we think of Apple, Amazon, McDonald's, KFC, Facebook, YouTube, and you can name it, what are some of the images, what are some of the thoughts that come to your mind when you think of these brands? This particular issue of branding is multidimensional, but we're just going to be focusing in this episode on dress and deportment. So my first question to my lovely ladies is, what is branding and what is personal branding?
All right. So when I think of branding, I think of my own business. All right. So I own a online handmade beaded bracelet store, right? So in developing a business like this, we first have to think about branding, right? So there are many other businesses in this particular sector that sells the same exact thing that I sell. So branding to me is how you differentiate yourself from your competition, right? So it's the face of the business, how you portray yourself to others that will make you attractive to someone who wants to buy from you, right? So I hope I can give a shout out to my company for a bit. I hope I can. Okay. It is electicharms.com. That is ELECTICHARMS.com. And it shall be down here somewhere. Mm-hmm. Right. So, yes. So when you think of that now, you have to think that that is what branding is. So you asked about personal branding, and I believe putting that in the perspective of an individual itself, it is how you portray yourself to others, your self-image. What is it about you that will allow someone to look at you and say, okay, this is a good individual, someone I'd like to talk to, someone I'd like to be around? And that for me is branding.
Personal branding, just branding, because you mentioned some companies. It is that visible sign that you see somewhere or anywhere, and once you see it, it tells you what company, what business that it represents. But involved in that logo are usually some things that give you characteristics of that business that will differentiate it from other businesses. Mm-hmm. And so when the logo, which signifies the brand of a particular company, is registered, nobody else can have it because it must stand, it must differentiate from any other company. Also, as we think of personal branding, it is everything about you that makes you you. And it is important as we look at it this time, because our whole theme is becoming you. And whether we do it inadvertently or purposefully, we are all exhibiting a brand. So tonight I'm hoping that we will be able to say how it is that you are selling yourself or showing yourself to be. Is it what you want to be seen as?
Michelle, you mentioned the different companies, as Joan said earlier. In marketing, we would say branding is what sets you apart from the competition, that unique characteristic. And one thing we should bear in mind is that branding or brand builds over a period of time. So A company might come out. We don't know much about the company, but over time, based on the service, the product, when he spoke about our business, the product that they might put out, over time, this brand becomes known for the quality, or the company becomes known for the product or service that they would sell. Personal branding is basically what sets you apart from everybody else. So when they talk about Hope, what sets Hope apart from everybody else? Hope is always bubbly, she is always smiling. In terms of just your image, or you put yourself out there, what do you want to be remembered for in this life, you know? So as time goes by little, as we're talking about becoming you and the journey of becoming, in terms of building our brand, you will find out that at a certain age, there might be something else that we might be focused on in terms of goals and so on. But as time goes by and as we grow and as the age goes up, there are different priorities. And so, you know, over time, but most importantly, as we talk about branding, it's important that we recognize or understand what our purpose is here on this life. What do we want to be remembered for? And basically, what do we want to be known for in this life? What can we be remembered for?
Hope just spoke about what do you want to be known for, you're remembered for. But in keeping with our overall theme, becoming you, I think that sometimes, maybe because of ignorance, lack of exposure, we sometimes exhibit qualities that later on we will have to change, just like companies. As they expand and grow and times change, you will notice that they will modify their logo. And so this whole business of modification is a part of what happens as you become you and you recognize what is important, you become more mature, you understand priorities. Times change too. And you have sometimes, there are different focuses in society that are in your particular field of work or study that will change your focus. And sometimes so you might have to redefine your logo.
So as we talk about this whole issue of branding and how it is that through our brand, we are identified, how it is that we're projecting ourselves, what role does dress have to play in how we brand ourselves, the image that we project on this journey?
All right, so I'd say dress is quite important. I don't know why, but when you spoke about how important it is, or you asked that question, the first thing that came to mind is the guy that is standing somewhere on the road with their pants at the, I don't know, the mid butt or below, or that female who is wearing just a bra on the road. And I'm thinking, for example, if someone wanted to just give away a big job, something that is somewhere highly, one of those big jobs, and they said, okay, I'm just going to pick someone by random on the road. I could possibly change your life forever. And I'm looking for someone, but when I look at you, I see how you're dressed. I'm going to think in my mind that there's no way you could run this job as well as somebody who is dressed probably in a professional, maybe not even professionally, someone who's going about their business and is dressed modestly.
The point you made, Monique, about somebody giving away some money on the road, I recall listening to something some years ago where a businessman, it was a similar situation, and it was said, if I had $1 million to invest and I'm going to select somebody to invest that $1 million with, and there is somebody who presents himself with a big cargo chain and the pants below the butt and wearing some big booger boots and hair plaited up, versus a business-like gentleman, dressed up in a three-piece suit with him attaché case and this sort of thing. Who are you more likely to give that $1 million to invest for you? The man with the cargo and the pants below the waist, or the man who is properly suited out in a two-piece suit and his attaché case, right? So I think that dress is absolutely important. How it is that we project ourselves, how we carry ourselves, what we have on, and we'll speak to the different situations later on, but dress is absolutely important. Joan, you have something?
When I consider dress, I think of it's everything that that when one sees you, one sees. For a lady as well as for a gentleman, it has to do not just with the actual clothing, how it is put on, the style, the colors, how it fits, everything. Because the question that I think should be asked by me, if I want to project myself out there or I want to demonstrate a particular brand, is what am I communicating? Mm-hmm. What am I communicating? What do I want to communicate? So that how I present myself or how one presents oneself in terms of the external is going to influence how others perceive you. So Monique, when this person sees these two persons out there, it is how that person is perceived. And we know in Jamaican parlance we say first impression. Not only Jamaican, but I think first impression is lasting. So that if you see yourself in a particular way, you must also want others to see you in that way. So dress must communicate that. It not only communicates what you are like and what other people think of you, but people can tell by your dress whether you're an ambitious person or not. I was reading something which says that people who go to an interview and wear a watch, not the fancy, not a watch, it communicates to those who are interviewing that this person respects time. Yeah. And that person would get a point above another person who didn't wear a watch. So time is important to you. Dress also, it is said that communicates your emotions. And therefore you find that people going for interview, the darker colors are better colors to wear. So if you're interviewing somebody for a job and you wear a bright red outfit, it's going to be a markdown for you because that is not considered a color, especially if it is an established business. So not only style, the fit, the appropriateness for the occasion in terms of colors, but in terms of how the make of it is. All of that constitute dress. For ladies, what are your accessories? Are they loud? What kind of accessories do you use? All of that is communicating to you. And having been in an area where I have employed persons, from the person enters, I usually like to sit at a vantage point. And from the person enters the gate or enters the building, the interview has begun for me because I'm beginning to observe what is being communicated, the nonverbal communication that the person just by dress. So that it is a huge part of what people perceive of you, and people are going to act according to their perception. And it is difficult that once they have had that initial perception of you to change. It is always lingering in the mind.
All right, so Joan spoke about what it is that we are communicating in displaying that personal branding and image. There is this talk, do as I say, but don't do as I do. When we're talking about our personal image and brand, whatever comes out, how we carry ourselves, how we dress is very important. I share this story with you. I remember years gone back, my husband is in air condition. He repairs air condition. And sometimes you doing a particular job and you have to be working amongst other high-class persons. Sometimes you feel intimidated about what you do. And I remember on a particular occasion, he came home and he was sharing with me something went wrong on the job. And, just how the CEO or probably the general manager, I don't remember who it was. And the person held him by hand and was just dragging him around the place. Look at that, look at that. And, just the way the person was behaving. And I said to him, it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter the type of work that you do. It is important that you display yourself in such a way that you command respect. It doesn't matter where on the scale you fall. Everybody's job is important. I look sometimes and I look at the taxi operators, how they carry themselves. And if I was going to take a taxi, I know who I would choose. There are some taxi operators, how they present themselves. Their clothes is clean, they look fresh, the vehicle is clean and fresh. You would want to take that particular vehicle, or you would want to drive with that particular driver. As opposed to somebody just wake up. It seems to me sometimes they didn't even take a shower, wash their face. They just put on anything, clothes, crush up, and so on. I mean, as an individual, how you look or you dress says a lot about you and about who you are. So dressing is very important as it relates to our brand and image.
Yes, Hope, you talk about it doesn't matter the level of the job that one or the type of employment that one has. How the person dresses says a lot. I remember that I had some plumbing work in my house to do, and this plumber was recommended to me to come to do the job. So he came, and it was in the kitchen. And I'm telling you, when he took his shoes off, we had to come out of the kitchen. He did do a good job, but I couldn't have him back.
No.
And I couldn't recommend him to anybody, because my perception is, and for those of us who are here, it is that personal hygiene is not a priority with him. Because based on some of the places that you have to work as a plumber, you may have to take off your work shoes. And therefore, how unpleasant it is to have people around. So it doesn't matter whether you are working in an upscale home or just in an ordinary home. The fact of the matter, it did tell something about him. And I'm saying not only did it tell you, so his skill at the job became secondary.
Right.
It became secondary. I found out, Michelle, that there is a whole slew of studies that have been done about what dress means, what it communicates, and how we should make sure that our dress communicates what we want communicated.
I believe also how we dress attracts a certain crowd, So I remember watching this interview with a gentleman. He sells fruits. And the gentleman dressed in a tie and a jacket. And, he looks professional. And you would find out that most of his customers, they are professional persons. So, I mean, his customer base is almost secured every day because he has his customers who would be coming every day demanding his fruits. Just by the way he puts himself together, and I find out also when we go about doing our regular business on a daily basis, people treat us based on how we dress. Even though we could say it should not be so, but sometimes persons treat us based on how we dress. So it's very, very important in whatever we do. I remember working in a car mart some time ago. There are a certain group of people, when they walk through the gate for the salespersons, they will say, all right, this person is going to spend, this is a prospective customer, And so even though doing business sometimes persons, to somewhat derail the crowd or take off some of the attention, they might dress a certain way. But I find that how we dress and how we are treated by others it says a lot, you know.
I oftentimes use the example of a man or a woman on the street. If they are dressed in raggedy clothes, if the clothes is dirty, if it is that the hair is matted, if it is that perhaps they're walking barefoot, or one foot of shoes is different from the other, or 1 foot on and no shoe on the other foot, one is likely to believe that that individual is a mad person, right? So it is just natural. A part of our schema tells us, gives an indication based on, based on how we grew up and the information that we have been collecting over years. Our schema just tells us that this individual, with all the characteristics that I just described, says that this person is a mad person. Similarly, if you dress in a particular way, people are automatically going to think that the way you are dressed, this is the message that you're conveying. So for the boy who has the hair cane road or corn road and has the pants below the hip and dresses with his shirt outside of his pants or whatever, people are going to make a particular judgment of that. That individual could be a very decent chap, but people are going to infer based on how he is dressed, based on how the girl is dressed in the very short, the bust, bulging out and jumping out of the bra and out of the blouse. People are going to infer,
Yes.
take
Negative.
they're going to have a negative perception of these individuals just by virtue of how they dress. So we have to be careful, as we have all said, about the image that we are projecting by how we dress, because people are going to form opinion. You don't even open your mouth yet.
No.
But people are just going to just look at how you dress and form images and form a perception, have a conclusion about, who you are as a person. So we have to be very, very careful.
Can I tell you something that I have become aware of? It is that even the design of your dress, and there was a research that was done, male and female responding, and the majority said that women who dress in loose clothing people have a more negative perception of them than persons who dressed in, I guess form-fitting, and that people who dress classy, I didn't say expensive, classy, people who dress classy, usually the perception is that they are smart, that they are in a high income earning bracket, and that they have a good job. So what is it that you want to communicate? Be careful. And that 82.35% of persons interviewed in this particular study gave the response that people give messages by their dress. People, men and women, give messages by their dress. So we are to be careful when we step out because 82.3%, 82% of persons are going to be receiving that message that you may be inadvertently giving.
I before I come to you, Hope, I was watching something on YouTube just this week where these two car salespersons were, at their business establishment selling some expensive car. I don't remember what type of car, but the car was valued at $250,000 US. So that's a very expensive car. So this gentleman came in, not dressing nicely or anything, just ordinarily dressed, a black man. And one of the sales rep was, saying to the other, don't bother to pay that one in mind. You're going to waste your time going over there trying to sell that individual the car because that man clearly doesn't have the money. Another gentleman came in nicely dressed in his two-piece suit and, have a nice watch on his hand and all of this sort of thing. And this person who was saying, don't waste any time, he went over to this gentleman to engage him. And the man was expressing, I think it was a Rolls Royce, was expressing an interest in that vehicle. And he said, yes, man, come ahead and, come along. And he went into the office. And they filled the forms out and everything. And, when he was running the credit check contacted the bank. The salesperson said to him, there's something wrong. It's coming up declined. The man said, you want me to try it again? Says yes. Did it? Same information came back up. So the man is saying, no, the buyer, I really need this car. This car is going to say to the world that, I have money or whatever. This man don't have no money at all.
Wishful thinking.
Well, wishful has no money, but he wants to project this image that he is rich and he has money. No, the other gentleman who came in first had the money on hand. He wasn't going to any bank to finance the purchase of the car. He had the money cash, right? But because of, again, the dress, he wasn't communicating that he had the money, So again, dress is important. It don't always tell the true story, but it does give an indication of the individual involved.
Well, I guess, Michelle, the man that had the money had to play it down because based on what is happening in society, you don't want to be a victim. Anyway, there is a term that says you have to fake it before you make it. Fake it before you make it. Listen, when I was young, I had this vision of myself in terms of who I want to be and so on. This type of professional that works in a bank around a lot of money, and I always go into the bank and I admire the tellers there and the persons who work there, and I say, that is what I want to be. And so in my mind, I started dressing. I started putting myself together. Joan spoke about when persons see you, how you dress, they put you in a certain class. And they say, all right, this person must be working at X. And they start even counting your money, estimating how much money you're making. So sometimes we know where we want to go, and so we have to fake it until we make it.
Well, I am agreeing with you because people do influence us.
Right.
And I mean, we have spoken already about, modeling persons that we see that we would like to emulate. And the truth is that everything that we wear communicates, everything that we, as a part of our dress, communicates something about us. I notice, and I want to emphasize that we haven't been speaking about the cost, because some people think good dressing has to be expensive dressing. It is about choosing the right style, having the right fit, the right color.
Mix and match.
That enhances you, the you. And we know that all of us are not blessed. I think at one time we talked about the Coca-Cola shape and the nice body. I have seen some men, sorry men, not hitting at you, who have bad knock knees, and they wear these tight-fitting pants that show it up. Now, to me, I think something that would camouflage that not so attractive aspect of you would be better. I have seen ladies also, nice dress, but a very poor fit. It's not meant for your figure. I have seen persons that put colors together that just don't enhance. I've seen beautiful colors by themselves put on somebody with a particular hue of skin, and it doesn't enhance that person. So that if you want to make dress speak for you, it is not style and fashion and expense. It is how, when you put this on you, what does it communicate about you? Did you know that when you are nicely dressed, that it impacts your thinking and your confidence.
Yes.
You wear a nice fitting outfit, a male or a female, to any function or anything like that. You have a sense of confidence in yourself because it's not too tight, it's not too short. I've seen ladies struggle with getting their dress at a place where they can sit comfortably. And I remember sometime earlier on, I was in teaching. We did a comprehension, and I can't forget this part of it. Wherever they come in, it says that when you see a well-dressed woman walking down the street, she's an object to be pitied rather than be admired, because her shoes is one size or half size smaller, and all the foundation garments that are there to get her looking the way she looks. She's an object to be pitied rather than admired. So I would imagine that somebody like that would be spending more time on trying to play the part, whereas if you had a comfortable fit and comfort in what you have, you would be able to do what you're doing quite well, quite confidently, and you'd be admired much more. I want to ask you, ladies, can you remember any time that you've been in a business place? You just look around at everybody and you chose somebody because of the way the person looks, in that, and you're seldom never disappointed in the way. In other words, it sells and it attracts.
I want to pick up on something Joan said about what we wear. And we defined branding and personal image early. And one of the things that we said is basically what sets you apart from everybody else. So if not every fashion is yours,
That's right.
if not everything comes out, it means you have to be in it. Because remember, you have a particular image. And that goes for the dressing as well. Remember, so we say that the dressing helps to communicate who you are. So it doesn't mean that because there's a particular style out, you have to be a part of it. If that is not a part of your image and your brand, you don't have to get involved. I see. And then when we talk about building the brand and dressing, we have to know there are certain things in terms of dressing for different occasions. I've seen people just going merely shopping in the market and you come in with high heels, snow boots. Sometimes you have to wonder, in terms of us as individuals, there are some fashions overseas that is just not fitting for us and this climate, right? Remember, we say that what we wear says a lot about us. And, persons looking on us sometimes will be laughing stock, So we have to be careful. Even though we want to be a part of and look like a certain group, we have to ensure that how we put ourselves out there, we are sending the right message.
You touched on an important point, Hope. Is there a particular dress for different occasions? And I asked the question in light of what I have seen. Sometime, I think it was last year, I participated in a career day. And there were some guys who came to the career day dressed like Don Dadas. So they came in, nice shoe, no socks, jackets, nice pants, a tight t-shirt, and some big cargo chain around the neck. And it was perhaps about 4 of them who were so dressed. And they thought that they, as they would say in Jamaica, sell off. Right? But when they came in and they saw what all the others were dressed in, you could see them start sliding down in them chair. Right? I guess now they started feeling self-conscious and out of place. Because while they were nicely dressed, it never suited the occasion. Right? So, dress how important is dressing to suit a particular occasion?
It is very important, very important. But I find that there is probably what I shall call it a sort of looseness or something that is happening in our society today, that it would seem to me that fashion overtakes good sense. In other words, it's not what I look like, but what is the ongoing fad. I would even say fashion. What is the ongoing fad at this time? And I must get into it. And so those young men that you talked about, sometimes they don't pay attention to what others say constitute what is appropriate. Because I've been in situations where students have been given talks, demonstrations as what the kind of dress should be for different occasions. And you do find people who come, in other words, as if they say, that what you're saying, you don't understand. And then only to find that they are embarrassed or they are isolated when it comes on to how they are dressed. And I think that in almost every situation that you go, even some that are supposed to be, at a level where you think people should understand the importance of dress, you find people that are not appropriately dressed. So this whole broad theme that we're on about becoming you, I'm hoping that our audience and our young people will hear and consider again, because the whole matter of becoming you and the brand that you're putting out there, that's me, it is something that can affect you for life.
Joan spoke about school and dress, and I remember my mock interview. And that was the very first place, or probably one of the very first place that taught me how well it was to dress for a particular occasion, namely a business attire. But I want to bring up an example here when it comes to Jamaican funerals. We look at how the females are dressed. We look at how the men are dressed. And there is nothing appropriate about how they are dressed, knowing that they're going into a place of worship. Right. They're going inside a church. And the mode of dress that they are actually wearing, it tells a lot about them. Because when you see them scattered outside and they're drinking the beer on the church compound and they're sitting on the walls, it's like you expect nothing more from them. It's like this is what the dress portrays, so therefore it's like it makes sense that they're doing what they're doing. And it really is shocking that people don't understand the appropriateness of dress to a particular event. And I mean, I'm stressing a place of worship.
As you talk about the appropriateness, Monique, I am thinking that there are certain professions, it doesn't matter where you are, persons are expecting a certain type of attitude, a certain type of behavior from you. So if you're a teacher, if you are a JP, just listing some for example, it doesn't matter, because I remember going to school, to high school, and there was this particular teacher. Yes, it's her personal life, and she wanted to go out and have a good time. But at the same time, as we're talking about image and branding, we have to remember who we are in our day-to-day life, our 9 to 5, what is it we do, and who do we influence. This teacher went to a carnival, and she was almost naked, right? And, students were there, probably young adults almost leaving school, and they saw her, and they were gyrating. The teacher was there gyrating as well in almost nothing. And we might be saying to ourselves, it's my life, I do what I want to do. But when we are in certain professions, we're talking about dressing for the occasion. It doesn't matter what occasion we are, we have to remember who we are and that we are role models and who are looking up to us and so on. And those students might be leaving school, but news scary. you know. And so this teacher got a particular name, and in terms of the respect, there was little or no respect. So based on the profession that we are in, there's a lot that is expected of us, and we have to ensure that we live up to that particular name.
Monique, picking up on what you're talking about, dressing and the disrespect that is shown to places that at one time it would be considered a sacred place, and you would enter with a certain kind of dress and a certain kind of behavior. But I would want to say that, you see, this whole question of becoming you, I think somewhere those people who dress like that did not get that message. Mm-hmm. So they are not careful about what brand they demonstrate or illustrate by their behavior. They just know that, this is in style. Mm-hmm. And I don't care what you say. I don't care what anybody else thinks. I'm going to wear it. So it is not important to them what you think and how they impact other persons. They don't seem to understand that you could have been given a job, but you will not get the job because of the way you project yourself. So it is unfortunate that there are some persons who are professionals, supposed to be professionals, but they themselves portray themselves just like those people. So you can't lift them. Mm-hmm. You can't lift them. But it is really my hope that this kind of discussion that we're having can lead some people to think and to redefine how they are branding themselves. And like a company that has grown, change your logo.
I want to jump very quickly to the whole issue of our presence on social media.
I just want to say that, just go back. We had a discussion. Social media, to a great extent, puts forward something that is not real. Because the truth of the matter, and I was having a discussion with somebody who, she does use social media, but she uses it not to portray her, her lifestyle, but probably to put up things that she finds useful to her and that can communicate a positive message. And we went on to talk about what is projected on social media. And to the best of my memory, what she said, that social media hardly depicts the real life of the people that are there. Mm-hmm. So in other words, and people recognize, I don't know if people recognize it, because what is out there is unreal, and it is not the true story. How many people's lives you see out there that are not selling something that is wonderful and something that one should aspire to? Mm-hmm. But we know life is not like that. It is not all hunky-dory and nice. There are challenges, there are problems, there are difficulties, and I think it would be more useful if what is projected is how one can overcome challenges, overcome difficulties, and offer some opportunities or advice of how this can be done, and success stories. Mm-hmm. But instead, the image that is there, the brand that is out there is very unreal. So one has to be very careful that you don't take it to say, this is what I want to, that's what I want to be like. Mm-hmm. And then you might find out that it is just something that has no real value at the end of it.
We had a discussion some time ago in one of our podcasts where we were looking at the whole image of persons on social media and so on. And, we said that most of it is not real. But in terms of our image, Michelle asked the question how social media affects or impacts our image. What I realize now is that people put everything about their life on social media. So there is no reservation. Everything is just out there. The good, the bad, the indifference. And I believe that a lot of persons are under pressure, young people, they're under pressure to think that I must have a social media page and I must be putting something out there every day. We also spoke about in our journey of becoming you, finding yourself. It is okay to be different. It's because we did say that we are fearfully, wonderfully made, and we are unique. So it doesn't mean that because social media is trending now and everybody is posting every day, it means that you have to be posting to the point where it's to our detriment, because things that we're not actually supposed to put out there sometimes are out there. And when it gets out there, it's hard to actually get it back once the information goes out there. And it does a lot to damage our character, damage us as individuals. So we have to be careful in terms of social media. Nothing is private anymore, because even if you don't want to put yourself out there, you have to be careful of what you do and what you get involved in and who you get involved with. Because if you don't put it out there, somebody else might put it out there. So in terms of our image, we want to ensure that whatever we do at all times displays or send the message that we want to send.
I think we have to also understand, especially for our young people, when you go job hunting, chances are more than likely your employer or your potential employer is going to Google your name. They're going to Google you, right? So they're going to go on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, wherever it else on social media. They're going to go there to see what image it is that you're projecting. What is it that you're doing in your leisure time, right? And really, do they want this person on board, on their team, who is going to not project the image that they want for their company? So you have to be very careful about the names, what you're calling yourself on social media, sexy lips, whatever, and sexy body soup.
And as I said, the name Michelle, in terms of email addresses,
And the
too.
email addresses.
When we're giving the emails, to probably if we're going to an interview, the email alone can send a message about who you are.
Exactly.
So we have to be careful what it is that we do.
The pictures that you're putting up, right? No, I don't believe, this is my personal view, I don't believe you should be going to the beach and taking a picture in a bikini and your two-piece and whatever and putting it up on Facebook.
Yeah, but you have to say, I'm going to the beach.
Especially since we've been locked away for so long.
No, but
Whether
outside
or
of
not,
that,
I mean, I'm going to the beach,
Put on a saran wrap or something.
But the idea is exposure.
remember, employed to a particular firm, and whoever you are, what status you hold, there are certain things that are expected of you, certain behavior that is expected. And even if you're going to the beach, you have to, especially if you're among your colleagues, you have to ensure that you know what you put on and what you wear. Because
Exactly.
at the end of
Yeah.
whatever event you're at, remember you have to go back to your professional life.
Precisely.
Yes. As you spoke, Michelle, about prospective employers, visit your page. So what my advice would be to persons listening or who are sharing what we're saying, it is that make sure that what you put out there will be advantageous to you in becoming you. Because, and on the other hand, while we're talking on all of these kind of positive things, there are some people out there who can dress very nicely and they're rascals. So dressing is not everything. It is what you see, is that first impression. But there's more to dressing, more to you than just that outward. Because you will have to go to the next step to see if what you see is really what you get. Because some people wanting to find the sexy Sues and all of these kinds of persons, they can play the part because they want to get to know them. And, people who put professional stuff out there because you want to be seen in that way, you can also be targets. So let us understand that all of this is just not a be all and an end all. Is that as we go through the various podcasts, I would hope that you listen to all of them and begin to put stuff together and brand and become the person that you really you will make yourself proud and others proud of yourself.
So I surely hope no one goes to my page. So there's literally nothing on my page. I haven't posted in years. I'm all about the business. But you asked one thing that they could possibly do, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because of the unruliness of this era. The thought that came to mind to solve that issue is to make 2 accounts. So one for the profession and one for you to do anything, but do not do that. So what on the topic of social media, I want to give a little kudos to some of those social media influencers, because not all of them are negative influences, right? We do have a lot of positive people who are spreading the word for you to be a better person.
Yes.
Right? So we have to ensure that we don't throw them all in one bucket and say they're all the same.
Yes.
Because I have a few influencing pages that I follow, and the content that they post is something that you have to admire, right? The messages that they send, it's something that you have to wake up to every day, and you probably look at it and you're like, okay, this is a good point that I need to keep in mind today. So there are a lot of pages that are the messages that they're sending out is very influential, positive, influential messages. So I just wanted to make that point there.
As we talk about brand and building the brand and the personal image, in everything that we do every day, what we say or actions is about building the brand. And there are certain things, if we are not careful how we live our life and what we do, there are certain things that might be put out there that we cannot retract. So we have to ensure, learn this. Everything that we do every day, wherever we go, whatever we say, it's all about building the brand, building the image. What do you want to be remembered for? What do you want to be known for? So we have to be careful. Yes, it's your life, but we have to be careful what we do.
All right. So as we wrap this session, we just want to get your final thoughts on this whole issue of dress and deportment. Hope, what are your final thoughts?
I believe how we dress or we carry ourselves sends a message of who we are, sends a message about our brand. So in everything that we do, we have to ensure that we send the right message about our brand and our personal image.
Everything about your dress and your deportment communicates something. Remember, all the world's a stage. We are all actors, players. Be careful what you want others to see, the message you want to communicate.
You are your brand. You must wear your brand with pride. You do not know who exactly is watching you, who is looking at you. You must always ensure that whatever you want your brand to portray is something positive.
You never get a second chance to make a first impression.